besties, my name is Maddie and welcome back to my channel. Happy day 8 of Bookmas, and today we're going to be going over my top 24 reads of 2024. So I've read about 150-ish books this year, so it was really hard for me to narrow down my top 24, but I tried my best. This is what I felt perfect for me in this moment. So let's jump right into them. So starting off in 24th place is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. And this is a YA fantasy book. This is a witch and a witch hunter. It's kind of like cat and mouse because she's faking who she is. And they're both kind of playing each other a little bit. And I remember reading it at the beginning of this year and I was obsessed. I could not put the book down. The plot twist and the ending at the end of this book was criminal, honestly. I still think about how they're going to go on with the next book because I think it's going to be part of a series. But it took me by surprise because this was the year I kind of really got into fantasy a little bit more, besides just ACOTAR and stuff like that. So I feel like I was so surprised by this book, but I truly did enjoy it. Coming in at number 23 is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. So this book took me by surprise because typically I'm not a big fan of Christina Lauren books, but I heard such high things about this book, so I have to read it. And this is basically a marriage of convenience where they're going to also be fake dating because they got married to get his inheritance clause or something like that. Now they have to prove that they're actually married to his family, and supposedly they've been together for the past 5 years. And she is just this starving artist. She's just kind of doing her own thing. She's a little crazy, and he is very straight and narrow, high society. Her personality with this family is just not gonna mesh, and she is so funny. Her one-liners had me cackling. She was sticking it to the men the entire time, and that's what I love in a book. Overall, I feel like it was such a good summertime read. Coming in at number 22 is King of Greed by Anna Wong. So this one took me by surprise as well because I have been kind of slowly fading off Anna Wong. I'm not eager to pick up series after series or book after book, but this one really sucked me back in. It made me feel like I was reading an old Anna Wong book. This is Marriage on the Rocks, and it's a trope that I typically don't read, but I actually super enjoyed this one, and I feel like it might be a new favorite trope of mine. And you have basically college sweethearts, and he has worked so hard to be where he is in the world, super powerful, super rich, and he's kind of just slowly put his wife to the back burner, and he misses a very important date, and she's like, I've had enough, I'm dipping, I'm leaving. And now it's him pining for her the rest of the book, and it was so good. It was so entertaining. I love that you had past and present timelines in this one. I loved the little girl friendship that she had in this, that her girls were her people and they weren't gonna let her just fall to the side. And it also didn't feel as long as most of Anna Wong's books have been feeling recently, so this one definitely stuck out to me as a book that I was pleasantly surprised by. The book coming in at 21 is Ruthless Empire by Rena Kent. This is my favorite out of the entire Royal Elite series, and this follows Cole and Silver, and they are step siblings and they both cannot stand each other, and it is so much fun. This also has a kind of a suspense aspect too, because Silver has a stalker and their POV is also in this, and it kind of gives a little tidbit of fear almost. I enjoyed the entire Royal Elite series, but this one stuck out by far. It was so much fun. It really got me into Rena Kent's writing and how her stories flow. Highly recommend this entire series, especially this book. So good. It almost gave me Damon and Winter vibes, which I am always searching for in a book. Coming in at number 20 is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I was so excited that I got an arc for this book. I was jumping off the walls. I was out of control. She is one of my favorite authors of all time. She just writes such good rom-com, fluffy books. They are my favorite place to escape into when life gets a little too hard and need no thoughts, nothing but vibes going on when I'm reading their books. So this follows two college exes where they kind of broke up and they just never talked again, and it seemed like they were doing okay, and then it wasn't. Now she is a sports agent and he's a player in the NFL, and she's going to be his agent. And then one night they get a little drunk and they end up being married. So now they're going to fake date, or say fake married to the entire world, so their jobs aren't in jeopardy. And it is so much fun. This is the first Sarah Adams book that isn't closed door. There's just one spicy chapter in it. I had so much fun. Highly recommend this author if you've not picked her up yet. She is phenomenal. Coming in spot 19 is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This book was phenomenal. I think it should be a little bit higher, but for what the other books I read, this still, I want to say this is like a 5-star series, 4.5-star series for me. So good. So this follows Kiva, and she is a prison healer in this terrible prison where everyone just basically goes to die. Like, it's not a good place. You don't want to be there. And she's just kind of slowly making it by until the rebel queen is captured, and there's a note from her family that gets sneaked in that says, just keep this woman alive, we're coming to save you. So this queen obviously is not good. So in order for her to like get free of the prison or something like that, she has to complete the trials by ordeals, where it's like it's a few trials based on like elements like fire, water, earth, something along those lines. And Kiva volunteers in her place because she knows this rebel queen will not survive it because she is so sick, and she is now going to do those trials. So there's trials, there's a subplot of romance in it. The twists and turns in this entire series had my jaw on the floor. I had such a great time with it. YA fantasy, super easy to follow along with, and if you are in the mood to dabble in fantasy, this is the book for you. So another fantasy book coming in number 18 is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I had such a good time with this. I don't know if it's YA, but it read as YA fantasy. So we follow a caseworker who's in charge of like making sure children are safe and taken care of. And he is tasked to go to the house in the Cerulean Sea and look at all these magical children to make sure that they're being well taken care of. And there he meets these remarkable children and their quirky little caretaker. And it is such a good time. It is heartwarming, the found family that these characters have. It was so cute. I loved it. I love being immersed in this world, and it just is like a warm hug of a book. Coming in at spot 17 is Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This is a single dad romance, so you know there has to be a few on my list. So this follows Raphael and Ellie, and Ellie is Raphael's nanny for his young son. And you know, that's basically all there is to it. They kind of go on a family vacation together to Hawaii, I believe. And it is so much fun. It's so cute. Lauren Asher's writing sucks you in immediately. So easy to read. I love being immersed into her worlds just because they feel like such real people, such real characters. This story is just beautiful. And I had a good time with it, and I had to put this one on my list. So coming in spot 16 is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. So this follows Signa, and she was orphaned as a child, but she's really rich. So all these family members have always like wanted to keep her to like take her fortune, but end up not actually like caring for her at all. And then she ends up at the Hawthorns, where these people are also kind of rich, but a lot of weird stuff's also happening. And Signa also has this little thing called Death following her around, which is basically death personified. And he's hot, and I had a good time with him. I love this. So basically she is trying to figure out why all these people are dying around her. I don't want to say too much without giving anything away. I half listened and then I half read the book physically. The beginning though was a little slow for me. I took a little bit of a break, but as soon as I got like 25-35% of the way in, I was hooked. The one-liners that Death had, swooning. So if you want a hot, morally gray man, morally black, this is the book for you. Another book that took me by surprise. So in spot 15, I have Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just think I had an imaginary beef with this woman for no apparent reason. Well, I guess I read one book and I didn't like, and I was like, sworn off. And so I was so scared to pick this one up, but this one is phenomenal. So this one follows Carrie, and she is like a record-breaking tennis player, but she's in retirement, and someone decides that they're going to beat her record, and she's like, I'm coming out of retirement, I can't let this person beat me. And she is not liked. She is not a likable main character. She says whatever she wants whenever she wants to. The public doesn't like her. You know, not a lot of redeemable qualities, but I loved this woman. She's one of my favorite FMCs that I think I read about this year, at least top 3. I was fully immersed in this book. Also, I highly recommend the audiobook for this one as well because the narrator was phenomenal. If I could put this entire series on this list, I would, but she's just a little further down, you know? So in 14th, I have Swift and Saddle by Lila Sage. My favorite Black Cat Golden Retriever couple I read about this year. So this follows Ada and Weston, and Ada is an interior designer or something like that, and she is coming to Meadowlark to fix up this house, and she stops at this bar, kisses this hot cowboy, and then she shows up to work, and she's like, oh my god, he's my boss. And it's going to be their little relationship. And it is so much fun. I am obsessed with Rebel Blue Ranch. I want to be here. I am so sucked into this story, so sucked into this world that I physically don't ever want to let it go. And I cannot wait for book 4 to come out. I'm going to have the same spiel when I get to my other book too, because you know the other one's on here as well. But this one, so good. The entire series, okay, done and dusted, a little cringe. But the rest, they're some of my faves. Coming in spot 13 is Saving 6 by Chloe Walsh. So bestie Katie actually got me this book. I'm so glad she did. She is the reason I read this book because I was so nervous that I don't want to let these characters go. So I keep putting it off. So this is Joey and Aoife's story. And you know, I don't want to say too much about it. It's like childhood friends to lovers. They have such a beautiful relationship. They have a little bit of It's Always Been You to both of them. There's harder topics in it. Search up your trigger warnings if you need to do so. But just overall, this Boys of Tommen series is one of my all-time favorite series of all time. And I haven't even finished them because I'm so afraid to let them go. Such a good time. I don't even know what else to say about it besides that it has a huge spot in my heart. Coming in at number 12 is a photo finish by Elsie Silver. So this is a little bit of secret identity, a little bit of forced proximity, and a little bit of enemies to lovers. So you have our two main characters, and they were kind of on like a spicy forum, if you will, and they kind of traded off pictures a little bit, and with them not knowing who the other person is until they run into each other a few years later after they haven't talked in forever. And now she's going to be staying at his house because I think she needs a place to stay, something along those lines, and it's going to be their little relationship. The way Cole was throughout this entire book, and the way he fell for her, and the way he was like healing himself at the same time, one of my favorite men almost of the year. He was incredible to read about. Again, Elsie Silver's story sucks you right in. I want to be part of their life. I want to be part of their family. I want to be part of their world. There's truly not more else I can say about this besides it was just such a yeehaw good time. If I had an audiobook list, this would be number 1 for sure, but it's going in number 11 for this list. That is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This follows our FMC, and she gets kind of accused of murdering her best friend, but doesn't actually do any time for it because they can't actually say it was her for sure. She wakes up covered in her best friend's blood, and she has no recollection of the night before, and no one really knows what actually happened to her best friend. This podcast host is like, let me tell you, I'm going to solve this cold case. I'm coming back to town. You're going to help me. And it's going to be their story and how they figure out who actually killed her, if it was her this entire time and she just doesn't remember it. And again, audiobook is phenomenal. They have intro and outro music to the podcast. They have different people like playing the parts, like when it's interview format for the podcast. Such a good time. And truthfully, I think you should go into this book blind. Let me tell you, another Elsie Silver book and another single dad book. So coming in at number 10 is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. So this follows a country music star and a small town single dad. So she comes to Rose Hill to record her own music album, label, music, I don't know what it's called, for the first time because her parents or her dad has always owned all the music she's ever produced. So she wants to prove that she can make it on her own. And she ends up staying with this hot single dad and his children. And it's going to be their little love story. It is so much fun. I love Elsie Silver's writing. Again, so much fun. Sucks you right in. There's not much else I can say besides, you know, me and single dads, they get along because delicious. Coming in at number 9 is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. So this is the first book in the Shepherd's King duology. I still have not read book 2, but book 1, phenomenal. So this follows Elizabeth, and she has a monster in her head that only she can hear, that only she knows about. And in her town, there is this sickness going around. There are some Providence cards floating around that will cure like this sickness if the person collects all of them. So her and a few other people are going to look for these Providence cards. And it is so much fun. And the atmosphere is just so cold and dreary and just perfect fall weather reading. That makes any sense. The pictures that this book created in my mind, incredible. I cannot wait to get into book 2 just because of how book 1 left off. But you know me in series, I just love a book so much that I don't want that feeling to go away, so I just don't pick up the next one. But I will be doing it soon. An underrated book of the year, so coming in at number 8 is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. So this follows Soledad, and she seems to have like the picture perfect life. She's got like the perfect kids, perfect husband, perfect house, everything, until she realizes her entire life is made up of lies, and her husband is not who she thinks he is. So she is now left picking up those pieces and trying to be the best mom she can be to her 3 daughters. And in there, she is finding herself while also seeing if there's still room in her life for romance, and then you get that little subplot of romance in there. Both of these 2 characters are single parent, and they are both amazing single parents. I think this book needs to be talked about a tiny bit more, if I'm being honest. Before I let go, and This Could Be Us, phenomenal books. The storytelling is so good. You can feel this romance. Of all the other romances I have, this is probably like top 2 or 3 that I fully believe that these characters love each other wholeheartedly. This is such a great book, and if you have not picked it up, pick it up because there's so much more than just romance going on in here. Coming at number 7 is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Such a good book and a reason why it's so hyped up. So you have our two main characters who have always gone on these dates, and as soon as the date is over with, the person that they go on these dates with have found their one true love. So they're going to fake date each other to break this curse that they both think they have. The way these two characters love each other, incredible. And I feel like it deals with such hard-hitting topics that like typically aren't brought up in books. I mean, there's rough family dynamics. There's someone having to care for their younger siblings in a different type of way due to the circumstances that they're dealt. It is so, so good. I love that the other books were tied into this in a way that I didn't think was going to be possible or even be brought up at all. I mean, it is such a good book. A perfect summer read. There's truly nothing more I can say about it besides that it deserves all the hype that it gets. For one of my favorite horror books, so coming in at number 6 is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. And this one was incredible. If you love reading about spooky children, this is the book for you. So Christopher is a 7-year-old boy, and him and his mother move to this new town, and everything seems to be going great until Christopher ends up missing for 6 days, 7 days, something along those lines. He's in the woods, can't find him. He's gone. And you know, after those 6 or 7 days, he pops back up and he's like, listen, I'm fine, everyone. You know, I just have an imaginary friend that's now in my head and we need to build a treehouse. What do you mean, sir? And now he is going to be kind of followed by this imaginary friend, and a bunch of other creepy stuff is going to start happening in this town. And it was a wild ride. Let me tell you, this book is thick, but it was incredible. All these side characters definitely play a part in this book, and I'm so glad I didn't like play it off as like, what do these people have anything to do with? Because it is so, so good in how everything wraps up at the end. And especially if you just want to like dip your toe into horror, this is definitely a book for you. So we are now at my top 5, and these were really hard to kind of separate a little bit, if you will. So my feelings as of right now, this is how my top 5 goes. So coming in at number 5 is I Had the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This book took me by surprise. So this is magical realism, and this follows Clementine, and she is going to be living in her late aunt's apartment, and her aunt has always said her apartment is magical, and there's people that come and stay with you that are from the future, that are from the past, and you just don't know why they're there. And she's like, yeah, right, until she comes home one day and there's a man 7 years from the past. And they kind of have this little budding relationship, friendship kind of going on, and she vows to kind of like figure out who he is in her time now, and it's going to be their little story. And it's more than just that romance, because like she is dealing with grief, she is dealing with like trying to find herself. You have that little subplot of romance. The authors know, and this made me sob. I have never looked at a book the same way. Books find you when they're supposed to, people find you when they're supposed to. It just is very heartwarming. It makes me really, really think, and I feel like it definitely deserved a top 5 spot on my list. Oh, we are getting dicey, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, book number 4. We have Play Along by Liz Tomford. The way I love this man is insane, to be quite honest with you. I have never felt this way about another character in my entire life, and I don't know what to do about that. This follows Isaiah and Kennedy, and Isaiah has always been obsessed with her, but she's always had a partner. Something kind of happens where she no longer has said partner, and she really wants to stick it to him, so they decided they're going to get married because they're a little drunk one night in Vegas. Now they're going to continue fake dating, being fake married, so both of them don't lose their careers, because she is the athletic trainer for his baseball team that he plays on. And the way this man loves this woman, I love. I want a man that obsessed with me as well, and that might make me sound conceited, but I'm okay with it. The way, I can't even put in words how much I love these two characters. I mean, I had such a good time reading it. The one-liners in here, I can't even fathom, and it hurts my heart that he's at number 4, but I don't know where, these are all number 1s in my heart, but if I'm putting them in a list, they're gonna be number 4. Okay, they're so much fun, and I feel like I'm gonna cry if I continue talking about them. This book will always have a spot in my heart. So these next 2 books are basically the most emotional books I think I've read this year. So, coming in at number 3, Kingdom of Ash by S. Jam. Do I even need to say anything about this book? I feel like I truthfully don't even need to say anything about this book, because if you've read this series, you understand why this is number 3 in my list. How everything tied together, how much I cried during this, the pain and the sorrow, and the happiness and the despair and all the feelings you possibly could think you could feel, this is what happens in this book. Like the whole thing is just, it's a mess. It is the last book in the Throne of Glass series by SJM. A phenomenal series. I can't believe it took me this long to pick it up. I'm just gonna leave you with that. You don't need to be spoiled if you have not read this book yet. You've not read this series yet, because it would be such a disservice for me to even give you any snippet of what goes on in this, because you deserve to live it for the first time while you're reading it. So these next two books were so hard for me to pinpoint which one I wanted to do. And now I'm second guessing, now that I'm sitting down, which one it is. I'm gonna stick with my gut and do what I think. So coming in at number 2 is The Women by Kristen Hanna. So I don't have the dust jacket, obviously. Am I holding it upside down? I am. I was holding it up. Am I holding it upside down? Yes, I was. My bad. So this book could hands down be my favorite book of the year, but it's not. It's so close. I love my 1 and 2 spots for totally different reasons, and I feel like that's why it's so hard to pinpoint which is which. So this follows nurses in Vietnam when they arrive there and when they come home and how they're treated. Incredible storytelling by Kristen Hanna. I was fully immersed in this book. I listened to it, and when I tell you I was having to pause this book to like go touch some grass sometimes because I was so emotional about what was going on. Like, I couldn't even fathom that basically this was real life for so many women. And I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. It was incredible. If you have not picked up a Kristen Hanna book because you're afraid or because you don't think historical fiction is for you, you're wrong. Because I was wrong, and this book was incredible. I loved it. You need to pick it up if you have not done so, because you will be so thankful that you're proven wrong. Okay, bestie, should we talk about book number 1? What do we think it is, if we had to guess? Do we know? Coming in at number 1 is Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This woman has me in a chokehold. I don't know what it is. There's straight up crack in this book. Straight up. There's no other reason for me to feel this way about a single dad book, or about a cowboy book, or whatever book you want to call this, because there's no... I read 153 books so far this year, and this is number 1. What is in this? What is in this? This is a single dad kind of nanny romance. It's childhood enemies to lovers, and it's best friend's older brother. And I had such a good time with it. Lila Sage's writing just sucks you in, and I don't know what it is, but it does not let me go. And the way this entire series has a chokehold on me, book 4, Dusty's book, I'm going to be so down bad for. I don't even want to talk about that. We're not getting into that. I said I wasn't going to. I'm not going to. This book was just so phenomenal. I don't know why it's number 1. I think about them every day. Every day of my life. I'm like, wonder what Gus and Teddy are doing. It is killing me not to reread it, and I think I might reread it by the end of the year. Because I hit my reading goal, so I'm like, what else should I do? Reread a book that I read 2 months ago? So down bad, and I'm not mad about it, which is the craziest part. But this one will not let me go. And I don't want them to let me go. I'm being so for real. I don't even want to put this book down. She is like my baby, and I love her. Okay, we're gonna put it down. So those are the top 24 books that I read this year. I had such a great reading year this year. As always, I'm always so thankful for all the books that I find. Reading has such a special place in my heart, and I love being able to like immerse myself in all these little stories and live so many different little lives just at the comfort of my couch, you know? I don't gotta go anywhere to experience any of this. I love the relationships that I've made through books. I've loved all the friends I've met like online, which is crazy to think about. I love that I get to talk to all my in real life friends about books. It is one of my favorite pastimes. It is one of my favorite hobbies of all time, and I'm so glad I get to talk about books now with all of you. Let me know what your favorite read of 2024 was. Give me 4, give me 5, give me 10, whatever you want. Give me all 24 if you want to make a list for me. I would love to read it. I always want to know what to put on my TBR for next year. And as always, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Love yous!